I see a Harry Potter, I want to paint him black. I see him on a train, I want him to turn back to Hogwarts. Hello and welcome to my review of The Woman in Black, starring Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, and Ciarán Hinds. This movie centers on a young lawyer named Arthur, played by Daniel Radcliffe, who's asked by his firm to go to a house where a woman has just died and left a whole bunch of paperwork that needs to be filled out. But what Daniel Radcliffe doesn't know is that this house has a horrible case of the haunted, and that once he arrives, the town's children begin to mysteriously die. Now, I didn't have terribly high expectations for this film. I figured it was just a vehicle for Daniel Radcliffe to start to get his image a little bit away from Harry Potter, and that it would be an average at best ghost story. But I gotta tell you, this is a pretty eerie little film. Let's start out with our actors. First and foremost, Harry Potter's all grown up, Daniel Radcliffe. And man, I have to tell you, this guy has made a pretty good transition into other films. He gives a very solid performance in this movie, especially in scenes where he really isn't given a lot of dialogue. I feel like that's his strong suit. He's fine when he's interacting with other characters in this film, but there are scenes, which I'll get into in a while, where Daniel Radcliffe's acting is just key, and he does an excellent job in this film. The best thing this movie has going for it is atmosphere. This whole movie is covered in a palette that makes you think of like the old chillers from like the 1930s. It just got this very creepy vibe right from the beginning, whether it be the town or the river leading up to the house, and especially the house itself. This movie just feels eerie throughout the entire film. There's also a great use of not only disturbing imagery in this movie, but jump scares, which is not something I'd say very often. I think of this film really as the anti-Insidious. While Insidious was very in-your-face, jump scares every 10 seconds, look how scary this is, this movie lets the atmosphere fold in around you and just consume you until you feel creeped out. Especially in a really incredible 15-20 minute sequence where it's just Daniel Radcliffe going through this haunted house, and just this creepy thing after creepy thing after creepy thing happens, and it really is tense and pretty scary, actually. And like I mentioned before, Daniel Radcliffe's acting is key here. He really does an excellent job of conveying like how anybody would be. They start out going, oh yeah, I can beat this haunted house, and then eventually like they start to wither away more and more and more, and by the end of it he's just terrified. And it's just a great 15-20 minute sequence of pure tension. I really have to compliment director Tom Watkins here on knowing when to set up these jump scares and how to execute them, and just using this imagery to his advantage. Like I said, this is a creepy film, but it's not quite perfect. I feel like this movie's story could have been a lot more original. It's the typical ghost story film we've seen 100 times before. It's done well, but there's not a surprise to be found in this story. It's the typical, the mother wants to be reunited with the son, and she haunts people to get what she wants, and you know, it just never feels new or inventive. It's just well made. I also felt while Daniel Radcliffe was good in the film, his character just could have been a tad bit more dynamic and a tad bit more interesting. I felt like maybe in the next film he can go out and maybe just play a little bit more of a character, but it's not a big deal because I did still feel like he was good in the film. But overall, The Woman in Black is a very solid horror film, and one of the better ones I've seen in a little while. It actually manages to be scary, which is something I can't say for a lot of horror movies, and that is the main factor, obviously. I did enjoy Woman in Black quite a bit, and I do recommend that you go see it. I give it 3 stars out of 4. It's a solid horror movie, no doubt about it. And that was my review of The Woman in Black. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'm Movie Kid Mike, making sure your time is worth your money.